Today, we're going to talk about how you can shift your debt-free journey with your spouse with just one question. Welcome to the Couple Money Podcast, where we talk about how spouses can get on the same page, pay down their debt faster, and get on the path to financial freedom. I'm your host, Elle Martinez. Today's episode is brought to you by the free course 5 Days to 5K. Many couples I talk to know what they should be doing, right? Pay down that debt, save money for emergencies or whatever goal they have. The tricky part though is, where do you find the money for those goals? 5 Days to 5K is a free email-based course that helps you find, save, and earn extra money on the side so you can reach your goals faster. If you're interested, you can sign up at couplemoney.com/5K. It is on. All this week, the Mamas Talk Money Summit is hosting sessions about family finances, investing, career, and kids. My session was out this past Monday, Dump Debt Together When You Can't Agree How, and I had a fantastic time. While the session was on, I was live in the chat speaking and answering a few of you and some more guests about how to get your spouse on board with knocking out your debt. People had some wonderful questions and were kind enough to share their biggest money challenges. We got into conversation starters for those initial chats about money, how to create a budget when one spouse has irregular income, and dealing with secret debts. The session flew right by. But I'm not the only speaker at this event. There are about 40 amazing mamas that are part of the summit, and their sessions cover so many different topics. And one of them is Bryn Conroy. She's going to be on this Friday as part of the Kids and Money sessions. Fantastic day, so many great speakers. And something that I really appreciate with this summit is that we're covering not just the important and almost universal topics of paying off debt, saving more, investing, but we're looking at specific circumstances and situations that many families deal with that maybe there aren't as many resources out there. I had Bryn on here before when she released her book, The Feminist Financial Handbook, and she's also now the creator of the Personal Finance by Women initiative. Her session on Friday is definitely focused on families. She's going to be talking about managing your finances with a special needs child. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing my conversation with Bryn so you can get a preview of what her session is going to be about. And I'm going to share one thing that you could do today with your spouse to shift the conversation with paying off debt and get them on board with the journey. I hope you enjoy. I love that you're a part of this summit because you bring really good perspective. And first of all, like the Mamas Talk Money Summit is just a really fun idea. So what made you join the summit?
Chelsea and I had worked together on a couple projects over the past couple of years. And so when she came up with this idea and she saw some of the things that I had been working on with disability and finance, it kind of just happened organically.
Yeah. And what I love about what Chelsea did is it's different categories, like I'm in the family finance and your session is kids and money, which, these are crucial topics, but your topic in particular isn't covered a lot in the personal finance space. We hear about getting out of debt, saving for big events, also kind of as an insurance protection with the emergency fund and the basics of investing. And those are good. They're definitely something that needs to be talked about and discussed so you can create a plan for your family. But your session in particular, I appreciate because it's managing your finances with a special needs child. Why did you pick this to be your session?
Well, because there's a lot of exciting things happening in the space. I'm also the mother of a disabled child, so that plays into it a lot too. And there's really kind of a lack of content. Mm-hmm. I find out there because a lot of the things are the same. You're budgeting, you're trying to save money on groceries, you're trying to save for your kids' college or just pay your bills. Mm-hmm. But when you have another layer on top of that, like disability, it's not just a factor in getting by in your day-to-day life. It's also another layer in how you interact with the financial system and how that financial system wants to interact with you. And when disabled kids are younger, that falls on us as parents to figure out. And yeah, I wanted to tell everyone about what I've been finding.
Yeah, because I think this is, like you mentioned, another layer. Like as parents, obviously, we are doing everything we can for our children, but sometimes, we put the focus on them, and then our finances, whatever our circumstances, kind of are secondary or even like further down the list. But it's absolutely crucial, when you have a special needs child, to do the best you can within those circumstances. But if you don't know the resources, for example, like that are out there, and sometimes it feels like it's few and far between, like you can't get the assistance you need to provide the best way possible for your child.
Absolutely. And that's not to say that any of these resources are super easy to access. Anyone who's interfaced with any type of government organization before knows that it's not usually a fun process. It doesn't usually make sense, and it's not as straightforward as it should be. But these programs do exist. And yeah, I feel like more people need to know about them because they're there to make their lives easier and things better within the communities that we live in for everybody. So
what are a couple of things that you're going to be covering in your session?
Definitely. So the first thing's Medicaid coverage. If you have a disabled kid, even if you have so much money, by the time you're paying for monthly therapies and doctor's visits and perhaps nutritional supplements, things like that, that could drive anybody broke except for like whatever the 1% of the 1% is, right?
Yeah.
And so that becomes a really important program, not just for people who don't necessarily have the means to pay for health insurance, but also for those whose health expenses would be prohibitively expensive because they're disabled. Not every state's going to let you get on it if you don't qualify based on your income. But I guess we'll get into that more in the talk.
Yeah.
We're also going to have some stuff for like parents of middle schoolers and high schoolers, like getting help, getting your kid job training or accommodations in college, or we're going to talk about programs that support you with that too.
Guys, if you're listening, definitely add that to your calendar. While there are couples who have both spouses on board from day one, most times there's one who's kind of pushing it, and they're frustrated that their spouse isn't keeping in step with this debt-free journey. So in my session, I go over some of the most common reasons and excuses that you typically hear and how you can win them over one by one. So I hope you check out the session. But today I want to highlight one thing that you can do that can shift your spouse's mindset and get the conversation moving about paying off that debt faster. Are you ready? Okay. I want you to go ahead and write down all the monthly payments you make for your debts, not including the mortgage, the credit cards, the car loans, any and all student loans you have. Now add them up. How much was it? All right, now take that number and multiply it by 12. How much do you have now? Now, I want you to spend 5-10 minutes today, now if you can, and write down what you would do with that money. Oh, and one more thing. Pretend you already have an emergency fund stashed away. So now what would you do? If you're a regular listener to the podcast, you might say invest more or saving for a specific goal, which is smart, but let's also be real. Would you use some of that money for trips? A house project, maybe update a room, grab some new tech around the house? What is it? Be honest with yourself. How much would you spend on some fun stuff? Are you getting excited? I hope so. Why? Because if you're like most people, you've stopped seeing that number and you're starting to see the bigger picture. What kind of life would you have with no debt weighing you down? Now, when I speak with most couples and they tell me they can't get their spouse on board, It's because their approach is all focused on the numbers, and it eventually slides into the blame game. You spend this much on tech, or we have this much debt. Instead, try it this way. Yes, have the numbers out there. I think it's incredibly helpful to know how much is going towards debt, but reframe it so that it's about the possibilities and not about punishment. This may seem like a simple exercise, but I've seen it work. Reframing the conversations around paying off debt can make the difference whether or not your spouse will join in. So give it a try and let me know how it goes. And let me know also, what did you pick out with what you would do with the money, and what would your spouse pick out? I hope this helps with your debt-free journey. Special thanks to Bryn for being a part of this episode. If you want to find out more about her and the work that she's doing, first off, please check out her project, Personal Finance by Women. And if you want to catch her session, it's on this Friday at 2:15 in the afternoon, Eastern Time. My session is also available now that you can watch. Just register for free at couplemoney.com/MTM. That's couplemoney.com/MTM. And don't forget, with the free registration, you can watch the sessions up to 48 hours after their release. Or you can get an all-access pass and grab it whenever you want, along with some other goodies. I'll have everything in the show notes, as well as more information with the summit and tools that you can use now to get started with your goals. I want you to have what you need to end this year with a win. So next week, we're going to wrap things up with our Reboot Your Money series, and I have a surprise. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. It's free. We're on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you grab your podcasts. Music today was provided by Gentle Regine and Lee Rosevier. And finally, I just want to say thank you again for listening and being a part of the community. I hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.